On today's show, staying where God's put you, how to work with the team around you, and what it takes to build your own iPhone app. Welcome. This is the Simply Youth Ministry Show. Kurt Johnston, how are you doing today, dude?
You caught me right when I was...
Right, mid-sip. Welcome. As always, very excited to be with you. I'm Jake Rutenbar, joined by my good friend Kurt Johnston.
As always, glad to be here. Friday morning.
It's good. It's good to be back.
Yeah. I only do that because Jonathan
hates the desk pound. It's real bad for audio, and he gets that little smile. Producer Jonathan. We had to pre-record the last few shows.
Correct.
Let you a little behind the curtain.
Yes.
We're not afraid to let you behind the curtain. Some of us were out of town. Producer Jonathan actually had a great family vacation.
Yeah, none of us were out of town. Only producer Jonathan. Producer Jonathan went on a 2.5-week vacation to Florida.
He's looking very tan, and he's looking very masculine.
And guess what celebrity sighting he had? An
exceptional celebrity.
Can we even say celebrity sighting?
Yes. D-list.
Yeah.
At best.
I would even say Kathy Griffin is more of a celebrity because she's not really D-list.
Pauly Shore.
Pauly Shore, ladies and gentlemen.
Pauly Shore. And Pauly Shore was inappropriately dressed, is to loosely phrase.
Yes.
His pants were hanging low.
Yeah.
So it was inappropriate. But a Pauly Shore sighting, like, it's weird to think my kids will grow up having no idea who Pauly Shore is.
No
idea.
No. Pauly Shore or Carrot Top. Neither one.
I think they'd be more likely to know who Carrot Top is at this point.
Than Pauly Shore?
Yes.
No. Pauly Shore has movies, at least, that they might see.
But Carrot Top's on, like, Comedy Central and random stuff.
Yeah.
And he's all buff now.
Carrot Top's
he's reinvented himself.
Borderline freak.
Oh, definitely. I'm not arguing this.
You know what I mean? I shouldn't say that about a brother.
I know, yeah. But Pauly Shore... Unless they happen to see Encino Man on TV.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
We weren't even supposed to...
I know.
Okay.
We were just excited about that. We have an awesome show. In fact, we're excited because we have a friend in studio.
Yes.
We're going to interview, hang out with. We have a very nice gift that we got that we decided to throw right up here in the front.
Yep. We have said that if you send us something, we will display it as our hood ornament.
That's right.
That's our hood ornament. We'll display it as our hood
Today
ornament.
It's a shirt.
That is a t-shirt from...
The good folks at
Hoops of Hope.
Yep.
Which Hoops of Hope is an organization started at the time by a 10-year-old kid who's now 17 or 18.
Right.
In the last 7 or 8 years, Hoops of Hope, through free throw marathons that your youth group
kind of like
do,
a jogathon but basketball.
It's like a jogathon but basketball.
Yeah.
They've raised over $3 million.
Super cool.
This kid, Austin Gutwein, he's built hospitals in Africa.
Yep.
He's bought school dormitories in Africa. He's built water systems for entire communities in Africa. I think he actually bought Africa.
Part of
Hoops of Hope is now Africa is sponsored by Hoops of Hope.
Yes,
the continent of Africa.
Yeah, I think.
But anyway, if you're looking for something awesome for your youth group to get involved in, it's the easiest, coolest way to raise money and raise awareness and compassion and all that stuff. Hoopsofhope.org.
Good people, yeah. Good friends. Good people.
Yeah. Not such a great T-shirt, if I can say.
Yeah. Or you got it. Orange is bold. Anytime you go orange, you're coming strong.
Wow.
Like it's got to be.
It's orange because basketballs are orange.
Well, but it's still strong. It makes a statement.
Yeah.
If you're rocking around the mall and you got an orange shirt, you're getting looked at.
Which my point for that is, if you're walking around in an orange shirt, the logo needs to be cooler.
Wow.
Dude, I love Hoops of Hope.
Look,
Hoops of Hope. I love Hoops of Hope.
You know what? The money's going to Africa, not to your design ideas.
Obviously not.
Obviously.
Never mind. Wow. We're loose.
We are on the loose.
Okay.
Also, we're getting excited because October is here. We're on the tail end now of 2011, which means my excitement is rising because the Simply Youth Ministry Conference is on the horizon, and there's been lots of different talk going on. We're in meetings all the time about the conference.
Yep.
We love this conference.
Yeah, the speaker lineup is
strong.
Set.
And
it's strong.
Getting better and better every day.
And we don't need to do a big plug for the conference, but best part of the conference this year.
Yeah.
The general session.
Yeah.
That's going to have this thing called
the Seven. Yeah.
Which is going to be 7 relatively known to almost
not
unknown
speakers,
each giving 7-minute messages.
Totally.
During a general session.
Yeah.
Why am I staring at you? During general session.
It's true because I know about it.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be the best.
it's
part
gonna
of
be great. If you've never been to the Simply Youth Ministry conference, we would love for you to check it out. Not just because this is the Simply Youth Ministry show, but because this conference breathes into youth workers. So March 2nd through 5th, if you haven't been, you go to conference.youthministry.com to check stuff out there. And then I had a cool plug. Our buddy, youth pastor up in, I'm pretty sure it's Michigan. I'm not positive, but our friend Phil Bell,
Yes.
who's British and now lives in Michigan.
He's a British expat.
Yes.
Right?
I don't know what expat means.
If you're an American and you've relocated to another country, you're an expat.
Great.
So he is a British expat.
He'd be an ex-Brit.
Wait, but he's patriotic. He's a patriot to his own country.
Thank you.
So
the
he's
Pat
a-
is
he's
a
a-
reference to the USA.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't think
just,
so.
I'm just
I don't know.
so
So I've
pro-America.
heard him called a British expat by Rick Lawrence, and he's smart.
Yeah, Rick's way smarter than me. Anyway, Phil Bell, if you go to his blog, youthworktalk.com, he's giving away a free SYMC admission.
Wow.
Yeah, so you could go on his blog. I think right now, today, it's like the third article down now. He put it up a couple days ago.
What do you have to do to
But
win it?
there's
Do you
stuff
know?
there. I have to even look at it. He just Twittered me and said, Jake, throw this up there.
Tweeted.
Tweeted it. Yeah, scroll
Twitter
down.
you.
What does he say? I don't know. Read the story. He's got something cool.
Okay.
He's got the article. He'll tell you how to do it.
Before we mentioned Pauly Shore, somebody in the live show, guess what their celebrity sighting guess was?
Who?
Lady Gaga. Now that's
Lady
A-list.
Gaga would have been. We would have had
You would-
producer Jonathan sit here and tell us about interacting with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know it was Lady Gaga because she wears so many disguises.
That's right.
By the
Well,
way,
you know what though?
Lady-
You guys don't see producer Jonathan, but he also has a lot of disguises that he wears. He's a man of many different looks.
Lady Gaga rumor.
Okay.
You ready for the Lady Gaga rumor mill?
Talk about dovetail right now.
This is Lady Gaga rumor mill.
Yeah.
She is seriously being considered to be the new lead singer for Queen. I'm serious. I'm serious.
According to what sources?
It was on Huffington Post yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, that's legit.
Yeah, but why would she do that? That's like the hugest step backwards she could take.
She can't take a step backward. She's Lady Gaga. She just brings Queen to her level. Queen doesn't drag the lady down.
And,
She
and
brings
let me
Queen
clarify,
up.
Queen is awesome.
Right. That's the whole point. It's
It's something she wants to do.
yes.
Here's the deal.
She's not desperate for a gig.
Obviously,
of course it's something she
you and
wants
I
to do.
haven't hung out enough lately because we've got so many things we're excited to talk about.
Jonathan,
We're already
you're
at 10
never-
minutes. Let's get our guest on today.
Jonathan is never again allowed to take a 2-week vacation.
No, because we get too excited about talking to him about what he's been doing. We might have to interview
All
him.
right, let's
for
go
our
back.
next
Let's
show.
go back to Pauly Shore. Here's why. He's been lingering. Pauly Shore's had a 20-year career.
I like this. I
Right?
like this segue right
Pauly Shore has been lingering around for 20 years, not very successfully, we might add.
now. Wow. Now I'm not sure where you're going.
I'm just saying, there is a massive difference between Pauly Shore and our guest today.
Now you're bringing
You
it
got
back
it?
around.
You
Now I'm
see where
here.
I'm
Now
going?
I'm here with you.
Because Pauly Shore has been slowly fading into oblivion.
Since Encino.
If he's hanging out at the same hotels that producer Jonathan can afford to vacate at,
Totally.
it's not a good thing for Pauly Shore.
No.
If you're a celebrity spotted by producer Jonathan, you're on the downside of your career.
That is fair to say.
Okay, that's why he did not see Lady Gaga.
No.
Okay, but Gary Garcia
Yep.
is a guy, I've heard Gary's name. I grew up in the Assemblies of God, by the way, denomination. That's where I spent the first 6 years of my youth ministry career. So I still have some friends in that industry. That's not the right word. In that denomination. And I've heard of Gary Garcia's name now and then around.
Yeah.
Met him for the first time a couple weeks ago when I went and visited Assemblies of God youth event.
Yeah.
And he was the host. And what I didn't know about him is Gary Garcia has been at the same church for 20 years as their youth pastor.
Awesome.
For 20 years, going strong. And this is the difference between Pauly Shore. When I showed up at this event, Gary, it's obvious that he's a hero in his denomination. He's a hero at his church. His church, and we'll talk about this, but
Yeah.
this is what 20 years does for you.
Yes.
His church gave up the best parking in their parking lot for his permanent skate park.
Awesome.
It's
Right.
and the skate park's awesome. The whole thing's awesome.
You don't earn that in year 3.
You don't know.
No.
I've been at Saddleback for 15.
You know-
and
no,
there's no way.
you're not close to that.
If I mention giving up a parking spot,
Yeah.
I'll get run out of town. It'll be pitchforks and
Yeah.
torches.
That's cool.
So anyway,
Yes.
for our segment that we call the 8,
Yep.
talk about the long haul. Gary Garcia.
Look at that. We got Gary here. Through the magic of technology, now we're back.
It's so much better when we have our guests live in studio.
It is, especially when they're awesome looking like Gary.
Now, I said this when I met Gary that night because my youth worker insecurities were on full-fledged high alert.
Right.
Because Gary's my age, pretty much,
but
a little bit younger. But he's the coolest my age I've ever seen.
Totally.
Skinny jeans, cool shoes.
Totally.
He wears a tight. I couldn't even. If I tried to put that tight of a
Cool
windbreaker
jacket on.
yeah, it would look. My moobs would be
You're
in trouble.
Wow, that's
Sorry,
one
that's
moobs reference. Producer Jonathan.
We'll edit that out, right?
Yeah.
Moobs? Okay. So anyway.
Glad you're here, dude. Dude, thank you so much for being here. Driving up to be, like we said, we're happy to have you live in studio today.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
So Gary, this segment we call the 8. We won't ask you 8 questions, but we're fascinated because not too many people stay involved in youth ministry for 20 years. And to stay involved in one church, we don't know, whatever that stat is that we've all heard, the average youth pastor stays at church for 18 months, 20, even if it's 24 months.
Yeah.
20 years is 240 months.
Super rare.
10 times the average, if that's the average. You're shocked I did the math that quick. It's all even numbers. It's easy.
It's good.
But one of the things is just, for you to be at the church for 20 years, it's got to be a pretty cool place. So tell us a little bit about the church and just what about it has made you want to be there for 20 years.
Yeah, the church is a great church. It's not a huge church. It's a smaller church, and it's always through the 20 years has kind of stayed the same size that it's always been. But it's just been a great place to do ministry, mostly because of the staff there, especially the lead pastor, who has just given me so much freedom to dream big and fail big and
was he the pastor when you got there?
No, he came a year after me.
Okay.
So I was there just a little bit before him.
So you guys have most of your ministry career, it's been the same senior pastor.
Yeah. He's 19 years we've been together working, and it's been great.
Yeah. What do you love most? Like, what's the one thing that you just go, this is what, whether it's me and my wife or if it's good for my kids, you have 3 kids. What do you love about the church?
Probably just the community. There's such a tight-knit group of people that are working there and doing things, especially just the volunteers. The volunteers, obviously, they've changed through the 20 years, right. But that just seems to be the place where when you get involved, there's just these people become your closest friends.
Yeah. What's your longest tenured volunteer? Do you have anybody that's volunteered most of that time with you?
My wife.
Amy is over there.
In studio.
Yes. The old I kind of have to be a volunteer.
Yeah, right.
I've had a few that have been with me for 5-6 years, but then you get changeover with them too, because most of my youth leaders are in their early 20s, 19-year-olds that we kind of raise up to be leaders. We have a couple that are a little bit older, but we've seen so much change with every generation of kids. It constantly changes, but there hasn't been one that's been with me the whole time, definitely. I've had a student who's been with me since he was in junior high, and now he's one of our leaders and running our college ministry, so he's been with me a long time.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Okay, my question about your church is, every church that we look at, and every leader of every church, senior pastor, has flaws. All of us work in and around broken churches. And this is making me think. I grew up working in youth ministry, and just about a year and a half ago, our pastor asked me to go take over as a campus pastor role at one of our regional sites. So it's my kind of, when I see our friends in the Youth Ministry Nation, they'll see me and go, "Oh, how's senior pastor world? How's doing that?" Obviously, you being around a church that is broken, that has flaws, that has a senior pastor who's not a perfect person, how have you navigated those relationships to where you stay dedicated to this place, even though you know it's a not perfect environment?
Yeah, I mean, for the senior pastor and I, we've obviously we've grown. When I first started, I was pretty raw, pretty green, and he'd been in ministry a while at that point. So, it was me who really kind of had to learn his system and learn him, and he was willing to walk me through a lot of that stuff. And obviously there's none of us are perfect, and he's not perfect, but he's been great with the sense of really trying to teach me and let me have that opportunity. For me, I hear youth pastors kind of complain all the time, my senior pastor this or my lead pastor that, and one of my biggest things to them is what are you doing for the situation? Are you helping the situation, or are you hurting the situation? Because I think a lot of times young youth pastors especially, They expect the senior pastor to do it all, to pour into them, to build a relationship, when in fact, to me, it's our job as youth pastors and their support to learn them and learn their system and learn how we can support them. And one of the things that I would say he and I, that has helped us, is really two things, is trust and loyalty. And trust of not burning his trust. If kind of thing where if I say I'm going to do something, or I'm going to do a certain event or take the youth ministry in this direction, he knows it's going to happen. I'm going to follow through with it. It's just not empty talk.
Right, yeah.
And that's where I would say the trust part comes in, of knowing that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And the loyalty part comes in, I would say, with your lead pastors, is you've got to become your lead pastor's his armor bearer. You've got to become his biggest protector. That's
great.
And even if you're in a case where you really struggle with your lead pastor, or he, does you wrong, or just not, maybe it's hard to be his armor bearer, but still, if we're called to serve at that church at that time, and that's where God has put us, we have to be his armor bearer, even if it's hard.
Would you even go so far as to say, it's our responsibility to be that? It's our responsibility to be submissive to our senior pastor. I mean, at the end of the day, it's our senior pastor's church.
Exactly.
And we, as much as we serve our kids, we should, I would think, serve our senior pastor.
Yeah, well, we have to understand that God doesn't make mistakes, and he put us in that place in that time for this moment, even if it's rough. No one said it was going to be easy to be in ministry. Totally. And there's going to be times when it is hard. And, you look back, you only have to look back to the relationship of David and Saul. Right. And to understand that sometimes you're going to have people in front of you that it's hard to serve, but you still serve. Yep. And with my senior pastor, what I've tried to do is to always protect them. If I'm at the church, to give you guys an example, if I'm at the church and I hear so-and-so kind of frustrated about this about our senior pastor, or frustrated about that, I'm the first one, not to be a tattletale, but I'm the first one to go to him and say, just so you know, this is out there. Because how many senior pastors are fighting battles that they don't even know they're fighting? Right. With their youth pastors or one of their staff members could so easily make them aware of it. Yeah. And whereas we've got to be their biggest armor bearer, their biggest support.
Yeah. And I heard you also saying the support stuff. I love hearing that. But it also sounds like you've built personal relationship with your senior pastor. What are some practical things you have done? You're busy, and I'm assuming your senior pastor's super busy. But what have you done to reach out and build a personal relationship with them at the same time?
Are you friends, or is it kind of professional, personal?
Totally.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, he and I are so different. I mean, we really are totally two different people, have two different interests, and our relationship is really built around that church. But what I've done early on is and again, you could put this in the trust category, is I've hid nothing from him. When I first started in youth ministry, I was a single guy, so I was dating and all those things. And no matter what I was going through, I always found a time each week to go into his office and just kind of have conversation. Right. And awesome. It was just so you know, I've kind of have a date with this girl this week, and just laid my life out there because I didn't want any surprises for him. I didn't want him to hear something and be able to say, well, what's the deal with that? And what happened there? And but he knows my life. My life had to be an open book to him, and I think through that we built a friendship and a trust, and we know everything, And there's been times, which is not often, but there's been times when he's brought me in, and he would say, just so you know, I'm going through this right now. Great. Something very personal. But I think it's because in the beginning we built that honesty and that opportunity to share with your senior pastors and youth pastors. I would tell this. Really learn this one, is when anything is going on in your youth ministry, if there's something going on with a parent or a student or anything, your first conversation needs to be with your senior pastor, just so you know this is going on in the youth group, or this is going on with this parent, because you don't want your senior pastor to hear it from someone else. You always want them to hear it from you.
Right. Such a good, and by default, that is not what we're wired to do. As broken humans, our default is, I'll take care of this, I'll clean this up, don't want to bother him.
Or don't want to admit that something we don't. Absolutely. The last person we want to know that there's something wrong is our boss. Correct. So we try to cover that up almost.
Totally.
As opposed to, and some senior pastors have probably, unfortunately, earned that reputation. Sure. That, if they know something's wrong, they instantly, I'm going to be in trouble.
Right.
But most pastors, I think, most senior pastors, they trust their youth pastor. They want to trust their youth pastor. And when you come clean with stuff, what they hate worse than knowing that something's going wrong is not knowing that something's going wrong.
Totally.
And they hate being surprised.
Yes, right.
And when you surprise your senior pastor or somebody else surprises, that's a total trust breaker. Gary, obviously, 20 years in one place. You're a sharp guy. You've had opportunities to move on to. You said earlier it's not a huge church. It's a lot of the same people have been there for a long time. So you've obviously, I would assume, have had opportunities to move to the little bit bigger, better youth group in the denomination or down the street. What has kept you planted for 20 years?
I mean, a big thing is just getting to that place in ministry where you know where you're called. We've had a couple different guys that have come up through our youth ministry and now our youth pastor in other places, and some of them really struggle with the whole idea of, what's next. And every open door, every time someone calls and wants them to send their resume, it's this huge ordeal. I mean, because they start to question everything. What do I do? Where am I called? And I keep telling them, when you get to the place where you know where you belong, this is where I'm called to go. And for me, I hit that place a long time ago of just knowing this is where I'm at. And what I really feel like is when I don't have any more vision or any more heart for a certain place, that begins that point where I got to say, okay, God, is there something next? Is there something you're doing that? And I really hit that point at one spot. I feel like I've done everything I could do, and this was about 8 years ago, and just said, God, if there's nothing else, should I start looking? And it was literally only the times I can say this happened is God felt like he woke me up in the middle of the night, and I just had this vision for the skate park. Yeah. And my thought is always when I don't have any more vision for a place, then I'll know. But you just got to be careful too. I never wanted to leave looking for money or looking for bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
I've invested a lot, obviously, in this youth ministry, but release is a big thing, and I have not felt release from this place and release from these students and this community and this neighborhood.
It's a tough one because on the one hand, I think we have to have a mindset that says kingdom economics, ministry, none of that should reflect the normal way of thinking. Yeah. So you shouldn't be upward minded. You shouldn't make a decision on finances. Right. You shouldn't think, oh, there's a better opportunity. Right. Like you would if you worked for IBM or any other organization.
Business, yeah.
Those are exactly how you think.
Yeah.
The reality is, it's tough to avoid that temptation because most of us are upward minded. Most of us are success oriented. Right. You've got 3 kids and a family and a wife, and so to say we're not going to make financial decisions, that's tough.
Totally
tough.
It is, but it's the job we picked, though.
Right.
We've chosen to be in youth ministry, and there's nothing like this. And like I said, no one said it was going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But if you go, I've just known too many guys who have chased the greener grass, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
And so many of them I can think of too right now that are out of ministry now because they chased the greener grass instead of really seeking what God wants for them.
I like Gary. I like Gary.
You're talking so much of Jake. Or you're talking my language too. My wife and I, when we got married, we said two things we've lived by. We said we will never make a ministry decision based on finances.
Right.
We won't go someplace for more money.
Yeah.
And we won't leave a place because there's not enough money. Which
Right.
sounds like the same thing, but they're not. We
Yeah.
won't, we won't be lured for more money, and we won't leave frustrated because we think we're making not enough.
Right.
And the other thing we've lived by, which I think is wise, is a buddy of mine years ago, before I was ever at Saddleback, when I was just starting out, he said, "Hey, don't ever seek bigger opportunities. Don't seek them out, but don't be afraid of them.
Yeah.
That if God brings them, don't be afraid of them.
Certainly.
But it certainly doesn't mean, like Gary said, doesn't mean a better opportunity is an opportunity from God.
Right.
I love, Gary, what you said about if you can just settle in and know this is who I am, this is what I'm called to, this is where God has me.
Right.
Then, because the only time those other phone calls get you all flustered is when you're already wondering that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
You're unsettled anyway, and then the phone call comes and it's either a better opportunity, which is really tough, or it's even a not as good an opportunity, but you're unsettled, so you're going, is this for me?
Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this God in this? Yeah. And I love you talking about your questioning kind of the 12-year mark, because the value isn't just stay put wherever you are for the rest of your life, no matter what. The value is keep going to God, and God, who knows what God has for any of us in the future. And I just valued you sharing that, because I think it's easy to look and go, okay, yes, I need to stay in the spot I'm at for 20 years to be effective to do that. There's huge benefits that we hear in this, and I think, if anything, there's a lot of trends where people do leave places too early. However, it doesn't mean that God doesn't move and change things, right. So we got to stay in tune to that.
What's the top 2 benefits that you've experienced because you've been where you are for so long?
Probably the first one would be just the fact of having so much trust within the community and the church and the adults. And you know, like when we did the skate park, I'd already been there quite a long time, and
Dude,
so
the skate park seems like the coolest benefit of all.
oh, it's a great tool to have, no doubt.
And the skate park's awesome, but I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
the fact that they let him put it in prime real estate. And I was on your campus. It's not a massive campus.
Yeah.
And that skate park takes up prime real estate. And that speaks more than, not bigger than Gary's vision for the skate park, but that speaks to the trust from the community and the parents and the pastor.
Yeah.
Like you said,
It's front door. It's
year one when you say that you're not even getting a shot.
Go back to your room,
go,
yeah.
little child. Go away. Saul will throw his spear at you.
Yeah.
That's a callback.
Definitely with the longevity, though, it's being able to have the trust to, you know, I've earned that trust. I've
Right.
earned that place to kind of dream big and just go for things that normal youth pastors I don't think would have the opportunity to do without the benefit of longevity.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then the other thing would be just the fact to see the generations of students that I've got to see.
Yeah.
I told you guys about the student who had been with me. His name is Remington, and Remington actually he's partnering right now with something we'll talk about in a little bit, the app. But Remington started with us in 7th grade and has gone with us all the way through junior high, all the way through high school. He's one of those students that you can kind of show and say he never failed. He always stayed strong with God and surrounded himself with godly kids. He's always been part of the youth group. Now he's one of our leaders. Now he's running our college ministry. He's working on the app with me, and it's just to be able to see a whole, you know, a generation of student come through, and you know, he's one of many that we've gotten to see. So getting to see students from beginning to end and know you've walked the whole thing with them, you can only do that if you've been somewhere long enough.
That's so
Right.
cool.
You hit on something. You hit on the app that you talked about. You guys have built this thing. It's called Wave Youth. Tell us a little bit about it and how youth workers should check it out.
Well, so many of us, I think, have iPhones and Androids and all that, those good tools. But I was on the iPhone just looking at the App Store, and I couldn't find anything really that had to do with youth ministry as far as just giving guys ideas and quick things, games, anything like that. And so, you know, Remington and I thought, well, let's put something together. And so we built the Wave Youth Network app. And what it is, it's free. You know, obviously in 20 years of ministries, I've had kind of a collection of games and sermon series and different things. And you know, Amy and I have talked about, I would love to get this stuff out there. And so we thought about a book and all that stuff, and I just really feel like I don't want to sell this stuff. I just want to give it away. And so we saw the app as being a way to do that. And so it's a free app for youth pastors, youth workers to go. And there's everything from games on there to sermon series ideas. There's some great videos from different youth workers around, just with some helps about youth ministry. It's all there for free for guys and girls to use. And you know, we're getting ready to do our first update next week, and it'll be even more stuff on there. But it's handy, especially I would say for like the volunteer youth worker who's just getting off work at 5 and needs a quick game for that night, can jump on there, and there's large group games, small group games. Perfect. But we're asking other youth pastors just to send us ideas and games that are working for them.
How do you spell Wave Youth in case it came up on the graphic, but in case they missed it?
WAVEUTH.
Okay.
And so it's Wave Youth Network, and it's both on the iPhone and the Android. So
That's awesome.
Wow.
Right
That's
on,
cool right
on the App Store, dude. Okay, because I'm dorky. Who did Remington? Did you build the app out? What was the process of learning to build your own app? Did you outsource it somewhere?
yeah, it's outsourced to a company called Seattle Clouds, and Remington, he's like, he knows everything you can know about computers. I'm pretty
Gotcha.
sure he's like a hacker, but he knows everything, and so I give him the information, and he builds the whole thing.
Here's what I want the app to have. You go figure out how to do it.
And we have another guy named Taylor, and Taylor does all of our graphics. So between Taylor and Remington and my ideas, we've been able to build this thing.
You know what I like, Gary? Gives love to everybody else and just
He does. He does. It's
quietly
awesome.
part of the background.
I just got a thing on here. Nation looking for a website. Does that mean they're looking for a website? Is Wave Youth should be also online? Is that what they're
I
asking?
think
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't have a website for it. We have a website for our youth ministry, which is also Wave Youth, but we have a Facebook for Wave Youth Network, and we're asking guys that don't have a phone, maybe with a smartphone, they can also get on our Facebook, and we're putting a game a week up on that, and we're also putting up some videos and
But
stuff.
it's the new world we live in.
Yeah.
So if you want the Wave Youth awesomeness, get a decent phone. I mean, that's the rule. That's the lesson. That's what I'm walking away. Get a decent phone.
I like that. I'm
know?
trying to convince my wife of that.
Gary is not gonna. He's not gonna Pauly Shore it down.
No, exactly.
Right? He's not gonna we need
tool out
a
there.
website for the people that don't have a cool phone. No, you want the
Go
stuff.
to the App Store. Go to the Android market.
technology drives consumerism, right?
Kurt.
Technology drives consumer habits. So if you want the good technology, go buy a phone.
I love when he's going really good on like a proud comment that he's made like that, and I'll just laugh long enough till he smiles, going, yeah, I know that sounded good.
All right.
We have a lot of questions we didn't get to. One thing I just wanted to hit is this. You're a veteran. You've been at your role. Speak to the people in our Youth Worker Nation who've been in roles similar to yours, or maybe are just brand new in their role. What do they need to hear from you today as somebody who's been in your role?
I would say two things, and the first one would be is, obviously in youth ministry we've known so many guys who have fallen morally and made some mistakes, and I really believe the main reason that happens is because there's youth pastors out there who don't have those people that they're going to. They won't go to if they're going through something, they won't go to their senior pastor because they don't want to get fired. Right. They don't go to their youth workers because they still have to be their leader. Yeah. I have two close friends, Travis and Jeff, who are both youth pastors, and those are the guys that I go to. When I'm going through something, and vice versa, they go to me. You have to have that person who's at least on the same level of you that you can go to and say, "Hey, I'm struggling in this area. I'm struggling in that area." Absolutely. Because, like I said, I'm tired of seeing guys fall. And it happens way too much. The other thing I would say, for me, if I have a vision or goal with youth ministry, everything I do is built around the idea of trying to get my students to say, instead of them saying I'm part of a youth group, to say I'm part of a church. To get to that point where they realize they're part of a bigger picture, bigger family. Because you want to see your students graduate high school and move into, still stay part of your church congregation. And we've been able to do that and see that happen. Through getting them that point to where they do. It's no longer they're just part of a youth group. They're cool. Part of a church. Because if they stay a part of a youth group, then their relationship with God ends when they graduate high school.
We might have just segued into the next time we have Gary back on the show.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
That's a huge deal about teenagers feeling part of the church, and I love just the simple process.
Gary lives 20 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
So we can have him back.
Up to 405.
And before we let Gary get off, much props to Gary. This is his day off.
Yeah.
It's his date day. Amy is over there. She gave up her date day.
Right.
She said it was either this or Costco, which means you need to crank up the level of date day.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if her choices were this or Costco, Gary.
And it seems like he's got the money to put on a nice outfit, so he can do a little better than Costco. The hair care products alone.
Amy has to shop at Costco so he can wear the sweet threads over there.
Now, for my wife watching at home, Costco is delicious. There's a reason we eat there. It's very tasty. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming in, Gary. This has been a good interview for The 8.
Thanks.
Dude, guys, you can break. Do we have bad idea?
No, we got to wrap it up. We got to get it.
36 minutes.
Oh.
I mean, sure, 12. You're back.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. We'll bring Gary back.
Got to bring Gary back. I love that a lot.
Gary can come up.
Insights.
Brian Barry is kind of local. He was in studio.
Yeah.
Justin Herman. Justin Herman will probably come anytime we offer.
Justin's the man.
Because if you haven't watched episode,
he was so giddy and excited
what show
to be
was it?
here.
Episode
early
something.
3, yeah.
4. And that's the difference between Justin Herman and Gary.
Yep.
Justin Herman, he's been doing youth ministry for 7 months.
Right.
Gary's been doing it for 20 years in
Yep.
the same church.
Yep.
Justin Herman.
He was prepared before the show. He was pacing a little bit.
He was pacing.
He was.
If we said right now, "Hey, Justin Herman, can you get up here at 10 o'clock for the next show?" He will sprint up here because he's so excited.
And he'll high five us each 10 times.
Gary,
It'd
if we said, "Hey,
best.
Gary, can you stick around for the next show?" He'd be like, "Heck no, I got
Dude,
date day with my
I
wife.
got things to do, dude.
I'm the man. I'm the veteran.
This is just one
don't play that
stop and a
game.
long, dude.
One stop in the journey."
Youth Ministry Baller. That's my new website you can go to, youthministryballer.net.
Hoops of Hope.
Hoops of Hope. Check them out. We're excited. All things happening. Love the Youth Ministry Nation. If you have questions, ideas for the show, continue to email us, symshow@gmail.com.
Send us stuff for the hood ornament.
Yeah, anything you want. We love to hear from you guys. We're always trying to utilize your ideas on the show. So you can also watch us live when we record at simplyyouthministry.tv. Follow us on Twitter at Kurt Johnston and at Jake Rutenbar.
Sign up for the Simply Youth Ministry Conference at
conference.youthministry.com.
Thank you.
See you next time.